Hey guys, welcome back to the S3 Magazine podcast. As always, I'm Mike Sanders. That's the Jonathan Woolley. You know what kind of made my day today? When I was sitting there scrolling through, looking at some of the comments on our videos, I saw that somebody said, or actually they asked the question, are you guys brothers? And obviously the answer is no. But it's hilarious to me that you responded by saying, I mean, I'm obviously rugged and handsome and awesome, so obviously no. But you responded as just like the generic S3 account, so they don't know which one of us douchebags actually said it. So
Yeah,
that kind of made me chuckle today.
yeah, that was the brilliance. That was the brilliance of it. They'd be like, haha, wait, no, wait, who's saying that?
Which one is it? Which one? Because I would have responded the same way.
All right.
Anyway, Wooly wrote an article yesterday that he's very proud of, and he's been really just trying to throw an argument into my face all day about why I'm wrong and he's right. Something stupid. I don't know. I thought we used to do cool shit with the limited resources and the fundamentally not sound cars that we had at our disposal because we were always balling on a budget and trying to do cool stuff. But apparently, Wooly has to have the biggest and baddest and best of everything before he'll even start modding. Wooly, defend yourself.
It's not true at all. That's the total opposite of what I'm been saying. Damn
You
it.
sure?
Yeah. Now you confuse me and everybody else. All right. I did write an article yesterday. I am proud of it. I wish you guys would read. Mike hasn't even read my article. I was like, hey, Mike, did you read the article I wrote yesterday? He's like, that's rude. No, I did not. So, just trust me, it's brilliant. Uh, but so this article, it's on an old VW Rabbit pickup, and it kind of the truck kind of backed up what's been going on in my mind lately, and man, I'm about to get off topic, but I feel like I have to explain. I have to get off topic in order to make this make sense. As you know, and as probably at least some of the people listening know, I have gotten like completely obsessed with vintage stand-up jet skis. It's been 3 years now, but I just now don't suck. Like it takes a while. It takes a while. It's not like a sit down, man. You don't just go. Like you got to learn this stuff. And not to mention the first year we were restoring a jet ski anyway. So it took a while. Now, what I've got three hobbies in my life. Cars have been my main like thing since before I can remember because my dad was into it. So literally I don't have memories without 911s and cool cars being in my memories, right? Then as I was like in my mid to later 20s, I got into mountain biking and I still am into that. So that's been like half my life, that I've been on a mountain bike. And so I sense these patterns, and so now I'm into jet skis, and that's like the new hobby that I'm obsessed with. But it's been 3 years now, and so now you start to play the games of like, man, should I get a new ski? Should I get a better ski? Like, I made the mistake of riding my friend's brand new $11,000 1500cc, 4-stroke jet ski. The thing goes 66 miles an hour or something, and you're standing up. Like this is not like the supercharged sit downs. Um, and I never wanted to ride them for this very reason. I was happy. I was content and I didn't want to fuck with that. You know what I mean? Like, and of course, like, no, ride it, ride it, ride it. And I ride it, and it's a lot like a new car. It does everything phenomenally better and faster than my old 96 Kawasaki 750. My old Kawasaki, it slips around on the water. You're fighting with it. It bucks at you. It kicks at you. You're going half the speed and you're on the edge.
But the fight is the fun part, right?
That's what I'm trying to set up here. Is that okay? So you have cars. Is I've been in cars as long as I've been alive. I've been in mountain bikes roughly half that long, and then I'm new into jet skis, and I see the same patterns, right? Like it happens with cars, it happens with bikes. You're like, man, I need to get a better bike. I need, that guy's on a $10,000 bike, and he's like, you know, 3 seconds faster after an hour riding. I gotta, and it's just like you start playing the head games and the statistic games. The thing is, I've been happier than a pig in shit for the past 3 years on this old Kawasaki 750. Somebody stuck a new one under my feet, and now the bug is there for a new one. However, I'm 44 and I have finally gotten smart enough to see what's happening. And so I started looking, I was like, man, I'm just gonna go get a new one. What the heck, you know? And then I'm like, no, dude, no, because you're going to ruin the fun that you're having.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the point is, man, there's a sweet spot. And technology, whether you want to call it just innovation or technology or performance or just evolution, like it tends to blow through the sweet spot of things. Like there's no doubt that like the stand-up jet ski world hit that magic spot in like the late 80s, early 90s, mid 90s, you know, and then it got better, it got faster, there's more EPA, you can't do two strokes anymore, and it lost what it was. The same thing happened with cars. Like, I mean, depending on how old you are, your timeline's going to be different. You might, if you're an older guy, you think muscle cars was as good as it ever got. If you're our age, you think like, you know, 90s analog stick shift sports cars. That was it. That was the sweet spot, you know? Um, so all this has been running through my head, and I specifically was like, damn it, don't do it. Don't get the new one. Be happy in what you got. Don't even go get another old one, because that's my next thing is like I want to accumulate more, just like with cars. Like I'm gonna get another old stand up. And I'm like, no, dude, because you can only ride one. You know what I mean? Like I'm literally just getting more so that my friends can come try out the sport. You're gonna break them twice as often. You're not going to fix them because you're going to have another one that you can go to. So then you end up with a broken ski back there that you're not messing. Like I've been down the road with cars. I know how this stuff goes. So anyway, that's kind of loosely and also directly related to like this feature that I wrote and to what we've been talking about, which is I'm going to say it and then I'm going to send it back to you because I'm tired of talking.
Oh, come
Like
on.
new cars have gotten so off the charts.
Yeah.
Like you know, GTR is fast, but it ain't fun. That's just an example. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's maybe that's not true because when it's making 1,500 horsepower, it damn sure is fun. But it's only fun when you're blistering speed limits. You know, like all these new cars, they're only fun at such an extreme that you can't enjoy it for 90% of the time that you drive it. And the other 10%, you're literally going to lose your license if there's a cop over the hill. You know what I mean? Like we have taken performance. Performance used to be something in an 80s or 90s sports car that you could enjoy a lot more. Like a lot more of the duration of the drive, you could enjoy the sport of a sports car. Now, these cars, whether it's a Shelby or a GTR or whatever, man, pick whatever one you want to pick. Like they're not enjoyable because they're so far at the extreme end of the spectrum that you are bored in a really awesome car 90% of the time. And it doesn't make sense. Now, do you want to start there or do you want me to
Yeah,
start there? Do you
sure.
have
So,
anything to
so,
say?
so what, and that is a good point because we've kind of, our manufacturers have allowed us to kind of conquer fast. You know, we've kind of jumped that hurdle. Everything's a freaking 10-second car now. Even the EVs just coming out today, everything is stupid fast. They've kind of finally gotten past that point. We've all conquered it. Now that being said, this is a saying that I used to not believe until I started actually owning and driving high horsepower cars, and that is it is better to drive a slow car fast than to just drive a fast car in general, or especially to drive a fast car slow. And I used to not believe that because it sounded like the most chicken shit, stupid thing I've ever heard in my life as a guy who wants to be in motorsports. But it's 100% true. I've got a supercharged S550 Mustang GT right now, and it's a great car. I love it. Wooly, you and our buddy Paul Runge helped me build it. It's a really really well done car. It is not fun to drive unless you're getting into it. And if you get into that car, it wants to hit triple digits and throw you in jail really, really fast because it's too quick. It does too much. It's extremely loud. You can hear it on the other side of the freaking county. It's destroying tires, but it's a great car if you're really getting into it. But if you're just trying to drive it around, take the kids to school, go to work, sitting in Atlanta traffic, like that thing sucks. And it's a manual transmission, which is supposed to be the funnest ever. And it's actually a pretty good manual. I love the transmission in that car, but it's not good. The car I had before that was a it was that Lexus SC300 with the 1JZ motor with the big single turbo, and that thing took forever to spool. That was really a better example of what I'm talking about. That car was miserable to drive unless you were just balls deep in the throttle. That thing was really just a bad car. And you don't understand that until you drive other cars that are better. Like I drove when we had that Type R. You know, if you guys haven't seen it, but we did an entire YouTube series on this Type R that we were basically gifted and made to go build and race. That was a truly phenomenal car. It wasn't over the top. It wasn't overly fast. I mean, it's a turbo 4-cylinder 4-door car that made probably less than 400 wheel horsepower. And that was such a well done car. Everything about it was great. It was well balanced. It was easy to control. It did just enough of the cool stuff for you without really driving the car for you. I consider that car to kind of be the sweet spot. And what we're getting at here is like, I think that, especially because of what I'm going to call the Instagram mentality, we as tuners, like when we were growing up, when we were first getting into cars, it was all about what could you get your hands on. You just wanted a car, you know? I still remember like when I turned 16, my great grandfather gave me a 1990 Buick Century. Okay, not exactly the cool suave ho-getter I wanted to get my hands on, but hey, I grew up with not a ton, man. So you play the hand that you're dealt. I used that car to go work jobs at night after school so that I could get enough money to go buy a fun car. And I bought my first little, it was a piece of crap turbo DSM that I literally bought for $4,000 cash because it was in horrible shape. Um, but my point is, and all of our buddies were rocking Hondas that their secretary moms gave to them. It was all hand-me-down stuff that we just kind of forced to be cool. And it was more about looking at the potential of a car, not the finished product. Manufacturers have kind of decided, hey, instead of giving these guys potential, we're going to charge them 4 times as much and we're going to give them the finished product. That's where you're getting your TRD Pro and your GR and all that stuff. You know, they're great cars that are being built, but they're too expensive and they're too damn good. You know, that's kind of what I'm getting at. I think that we overlook a lot of cars that have a ton of potential. There's one that I talk about a lot, and I'm going to go back to it again, and that is the turbo 4-cylinder Mustang, specifically the S550. I still remember that is the car that made me start walking towards wanting to buy that Mustang that I have currently. Because, you know, me and Wooly, we get cars to review. The manufacturers give them to us, say, drive them around, make some videos, make some content, tell us what you really think about the car. Don't be too mean. And let's see what we can do. So we got our hands on that turbo 4-cylinder Mustang, and I had a blast in that thing. I thought it was by far the best Mustang I had ever driven, you know, because it was kind of the Sylvia that Nissan never gave to us in the US, in my opinion. And then the next week they gave me the 5.0 GT, and I was like, that car is stupid. I'm going to go get the GT now because it was way better. But that's because I was a more mature tuner, a more mature driver. I was ready for the GT. That 4-cylinder turbo Mustang is great for anybody who's like in high school or college and looking for something to get decent gas mileage that looks good, is a new enough car, and they're balling on a budget. That's probably a great car to really get behind the wheel and learn how to drive. Learn how to actually control your car on the streets and on the track. Go have some fun with it without absolutely destroying your bank account. Well, now I'm tired of talking. I feel like I'm kind of talking in circles here, so I'll throw it over to you.
um, yeah, you know, for the first time, I think what we're getting at here is that like the car manufacturers have gotten so ridiculous with power and so ridiculous with top trim models that they're almost losing the plot, right? Like,
Hmm.
let's think of a car. All right, let's take a Jeep, right? Like, I got a Jeep. I love Jeeps. Like, the fact that you can now spend $90,000 on a 392 Hemi V8, whatever Jeep, on
Hmm.
40s or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, that loses the plot
Yeah.
entirely
Well,
of what a Jeep is.
and the worst part is, see, the Jeep is a good and a bad example here because they do offer the lower trim levels like what you're talking about. They are available. It's just they're really hard to find because the dealerships don't want to sell the super cheap ones. And because of that Instagram mentality, you don't want that one. You want the badass one. You
Yep.
got to go get the badass one. And I feel like it deters so many people from like actually getting into something that they could have a really good, fun experience with because they're going to have the lesser than version.
Well, yeah. I mean, look at the TRD Pros. It's the same thing. Like, we've gotten to a point where you spec out a Toyota Tacoma with the TRD Pro trim and suspension in the seats and all this stuff that it comes with now, and you're spending 60 grand. That loses the plot of what the Tacoma was supposed to be entirely. So it's like you mentioned with social media, like the car companies, social media has changed our psyche and how we purchase things and why we purchase things. And the car companies have gotten in touch with that. And so they keep upping the ante, they keep upping it, and people buy it. And so I guess what we're trying to say is that I think we're at a point now in 2024 where maybe you need to start looking at the base models, like for example, you're like, man, I want a Tacoma. Your mind immediately goes, it's like 55, 60 grand. It's not. It's the one that you envision as 55 or 60 grand, but like you can still get a turbocharged 4x4 manual transmission, fairly base Tacoma. No, it's not going to have lockers and Fox shops and all that. It's what the aftermarket's for. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like that. Yeah, what happened to getting just a durable, simplistic, good canvas, a platform, and then
yeah.
going out and enjoying it and building as you go? Why do we have to have $1,000 month car payments to
Well,
flex a Tacoma? Like,
and I know we've been saying this for a while that like the automotive manufacturers are kind of doing their part to kill the automotive aftermarket industry, and this is a good example of that. You know, like they used to not even offer this stuff unless you were getting like the best of the best trim level. They only make like a couple hundred of every year. But now it's freaking all over the place. Like you said, Fox shocks and just everything else. That used to be the aftermarket. The whole thing was you used to get the car and customize it and build it the way that you wanted to. But now the manufacturers just kind of assume that they don't want to do that. Let's just do it for them. We can do it better. We can make more money off of it. We're just going to do it for them. And I hate the fact that tuners and car enthusiasts are just kind of accepting that. Like when I was when granted, again, I kind of came from humble beginnings and definitely have not ever had a bunch of money, but I always looked for like give me the base model, just give me a clean, non-abused example of the base model, and then I'll take it from there because I can build it better than anybody else. But that's just not the mentality anymore.
no, yeah. I mean, as awesome as the Type R is, it's killed the SI. I mean, the SI has kind of killed itself because it doesn't look good
Yeah,
anymore. It's not exciting from an aesthetic point of view, but yeah, like mentally now, pay attention to how you think. If you can't have the Type R, Civic's out. You know what I mean? So they've
yeah,
set the bar at like 50 grand. Like,
yeah,
if I'm not gonna get the $50,000 Type R, Civics, all right. Like I saw an SI today. It was a few years old. It was a coupe, an SI, a little white coupe. It looked good, and I'm like, man, that car doesn't exist in my head. You know what
yeah.
I mean? Like it's
It's not
not
an
an
option.
option. No,
Yeah.
hell no. Um, I don't know. In this feature, that I wrote, the whole premise of it was not amazing is actually amazing. The guy, the way he described his truck, he's like, it's nothing amazing, and it's just cool. And I was like,
Mhm.
but nothing amazing is freaking amazing in today's day and age. Because, like you said, we're all living for social media. Social media, we've forgotten how to fall in love with things because of social media. We do it for the wrong reasons. And I think a lot of people, social media is such a part of their lives, you really have to step back to start to realize how much it's infected the way that you think. Like, we don't do things for long. We don't fall in love with them. We don't spend time. We don't develop the skills. We don't, sit back and enjoy. Like, we don't have peace. We're just constantly, it's just a constant struggle to keep up with people. And again, I wrote it in the article, but you know what I mean? It's an illusion. It's a freaking fabricated, crafted illusion, what you see on social media. It's not necessarily the real thing. You guys all know that,
Yeah, yeah.
but we get caught up in that stuff. And you don't
It,
need to.
it's more about the flex than it
Well,
is
that's
the fun and truly connecting with the car, which is what you were talking about earlier. Like there is a big difference. You were talking about kind of like how fast the cars are now, but like when the cars were more analog and you had to do more to make the car move when you're engaging a clutch, you're shifting gears. I know that a lot of people look at that and kind of laugh and go, my automatic can shift way faster than you can. I don't care. I'm not a race car driver. I just want to be connected with the car. I want to control the car. I want to make sure it's a smooth shift in between gears. I want to feel the torque
well,
transitioning from one to the other.
you
It's
want
just,
to. All right, let me interrupt. You want to soak up that moment, and you
yeah.
can't soak up that moment if the car's doing it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Technology creates convenience. It's what
Mm-hmm.
happens, but convenience steals moments from you. It steals moment. The other night, me and my family were at dinner, and my wife Casey, she had mentioned, man, I don't know, we were talking about TV. She goes, I miss the days of Conan O'Brien and Jimmy Fallon or whatever it was when it came on at like 9 or 11:30, and you had to be there. Like you had to get in front of the TV at the time that it came on to watch it. That's inconvenient. You know what I mean? But like, think about what it gave you in return. You would be like, oh my gosh, the show's coming on tonight at 9. Let's get home from work. Let's order a pizza. Let's
Mm-hmm.
get all this together, and then we're going to turn it on and watch it. So there's a moment there that is now extinct. It's lost because we don't have to care what time we watch it. We can watch it whenever. So the convenience has stolen a moment from us. In the article, I gave the example of, this is a very basic example, but you can apply it to life. Pop-up headlights versus automatic headlights. Like, when you had a pop-up headlight, you had to think, now's the time. I'm going to turn it on. You turned it on, it went, and you had a moment of just bliss.
Mm-hmm.
It's like totally worthless and totally like valuable at the same time. Now you are oblivious to whether your headlights are on or not. They stole technology, stole that fucking moment from our lives. You know what I mean? And that's the problem with technology. And we keep chasing this stuff, and it's like, dude, this is going back to the social media thing. Like, worry less about comparison and worry more about contentment. And that goes back to what I was dealing with the jet skis. Like, I am content on my jet ski. Do not let the new thing
Mm-hmm.
ruin my contentment. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, that's not the way to do it. Don't let something out there ruin your moment. You were talking about driving fast car. It's more fun to drive a slow car fast than a fast car slow. And we used to go, yeah, whatever, that rhymes, but that's stupid.
Yeah.
Like, the faster cars is always more fun,
Yeah.
but it's not. It's
No.
about being in that moment. And so how many of those moments can you get? If you're making 800 horsepower in a Mustang, you don't get many of those moments
Mm-hmm.
on ramps. Like
Yeah.
that. That's when you were talking about your Lexus. Like, I loved your Lexus, but your Lexus was freaking boring unless we were getting on the interstate. And for that quarter mile, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Sucked. I mean, it was a Camry any other time. Like, it was just a boring car that was out of boost. It wasn't in
Mm,
boost, and it was heavy and boring and long and dumb,
yeah,
but like the point is we only get so many moments, right? Like you have a commute or whatever, and there's only so many moments to have a moment. And the fast car takes 98% of those moments and steals them from you. And
absolutely. I mean, and not that it's a slow car, but like I have so much more fun driving my Evo than I do my Mustang,
mhm.
just because it's not a convenient car at all. It's loud on the inside. There is no back seat. You're in harnesses in that thing. It doesn't make nearly the power that the Mustang has, but it's more controllable. The clutch feel, the pedal feel on that thing is amazing. It does all the little sensory things well that remind me so much of driving in the 90s when I was young and stupid and careless and just learning and having fun. It's
And
a nostalgic thing
when
for me.
when did we all get so obsessed with convenience? Like, what are you, fucking pussy? Like, you can't shift a car? You can't put a little effort into the steering so that you can actually feel the steering and the, you know what? Maybe, dude, maybe I'm ruined. I mean, I've got an old 911. I've got an old 944. And then I got a newer Jeep, and
Mm,
and my other newer car is a Fiesta ST with a big turbo on it. So like I've kind of got a good spectrum of cars, but they kind of ruined me in a way because I get in any new car now and I'm just like, man, the steering's numb. I can't feel it. Like you turn a 911 or a 944, yeah.
yeah,
but
you
you
gotta
but
work.
but once you're moving, it's like, yes, you feel it all, and like,
Mm,
dude, it's impossible not to be engaged. The sounds, the headlights, like the shit, it's all, man, you are so in that moment. When you are driving, you are driving. It's not something you can tune out of. You know what I mean? For
yeah,
example, I had a Mark 6 GTI, what, 8 or 10 years ago, and I sold it because it couldn't hold my heart. Like it was just too easy to go flip automatic and just sit there. I was like,
yeah.
this is, you have
It's
to,
it. I remember that car.
it's fast.
It was a very numb car. It was fast, but it was very numb, and just it could not keep my attention because at the end of the day, it's just a brappy automatic. That was it.
It was a freaking gray hatchback that went whoop, whoop, whoop.
Yeah,
I mean, like how long it was a novelty, but the novelty worn off and there was no substance behind it. I'm sorry
hmm,
if you guys have a GTI, especially a modern one. But
yeah,
that's the point. We're trying to get, the problem is this podcast is kind of weird because we're trying to make a couple different points. Going back to the other point, just stay with us here. Maybe the base models are not so bad. We
hmm,
all sit here and go, cars have gotten so expensive, and they have, but we've also done it to ourselves. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because we eliminate anything that doesn't have limited slip, lockers, big turbos, the best shocks and all this stuff. Maybe we don't need that. Like you were talking about the EcoBoost Mustang. That car will always live in the GT's shadows, and
yes,
that's its curse. But if you can take the Mustang GT out of the equation, it's a hell of a car for a
yep,
hell of a deal. And you take something like a four-cylinder, a newer BMW, like secondhand, but newer, more modern BMW, the four-cylinder turbos. Nobody wants that car because it's the freaking baby BMW. You want the elm with the blue stitching and all, and all this kind of stuff.
hmm,
But like, if you can get over yourself or realize maybe it's not in your budget and that's okay, secondhand, if you can find these like entry level, lesser than basic performance cars or whatever, but find them with a manual transmission, guess what? Nobody else wants that car. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, there's an opportunity to get a hell of a deal on something like the four banger turbo BMW, which by the way, I rode with APR with Ian Bass. He's a professional driver. He's the driver for APR. We were on Road Atlanta. That car is fun. It's
hmm,
like a rear wheel drive Type R. It's a momentum car. You got to keep it going. It's not a sledgehammer like an M or whatever, but like it's fun in its own right. So I guess the point is some of those cars, because everybody's got to have the biggest, baddest, if you can get like these cheaper, more base versions with the manual, there's no other buyer. Like the secretaries aren't going to buy the manual. Who's going to buy a secondhand Mustang S550 EcoBoost manual? Like those cars are going
Me.
to tank in value. Yeah,
Yeah.
because the college girls ain't going to buy them. The secretaries ain't going to buy them. The hardcore dudes are going to buy the GTs. So like
Mm.
there's a void. Shit, I have a painting just fell down. There's a void in the market. Same thing for that little four-cylinder turbo BMW. Like,
I
I
tell you,
mean,
who should be buying that car is guys like me and you as our little playthings to build and have fun with and beat the hell out of because they're going to be so cheap. And then also buy them for our kids so our
I
kids can be cool and learn how to modify cars and drive and have fun.
we all say we love, oh man, the golden era of 90s, like Japanese cars and all this kind of stuff. Like that little four-cylinder BMW and that EcoBoost Mustang carries that soul and spirit.
Yeah.
Like that car is very true to what those cars would have been back then. So, I mean, there's an argument for them. I don't have a skin in the game, but I'm just saying, like, we kind of been talking about that. These base model cars that are unloved by the that's where the whole freaking tuner scene started. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we started
Mhm.
messing with Hondas that were unloved by everybody else, but it's what we acquired when we were teenagers. And then boom, 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 you find like the path to glory. You know what I mean? Like, so there's something to be said for that. I don't know. That's all I got.
I think we covered it, man.
Here, hang on. Let me look at one more thing. Yeah, I think we pretty much covered it, dude. I know I keep going back to this article, but it kind of all fits together.
See, I
So,
didn't need to read it. I already knew what you were going to say.
because I say the same thing, we always say the same things, but we
Because
just
we're
say
right.
them in different ways. The point is, not amazing is sometimes freaking amazing,
Yeah.
but you got to clear your head of all the social media marketing bullshit. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
you think about the way that our economy works right now. They are banking on you being insecure. That's how this works. If you're
Yeah.
secure enough to know what you like and you don't need to have the biggest and baddest, just to have something to post or to keep up with the Joneses, like, you don't need it.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, if you go by just social media, you think that every girl should have Botox, fake boobs, fake ass, makeup all over the place, and an OnlyFans account. But the fact is, all natural is a lot of times better.
Yeah. And
More
that,
fun.
again, I always feel dumb going back to jet skis when, we're a car magazine, but it is the same mentality. There was something happening in that time period, that late 80s, you know, early 90s time period. Like there was a spirit there. They were fun, they were infectious, and they weren't so fast that they were intimidating. You know what I mean? Like you think about now, just the obstacles that are in your way to get involved in stand up jet skis. You got to learn how to do it, and all they make are 1,000+ cc. Like, man, it's a huge barrier to entry. The reason that stuff took off was because the barrier to entry was very low. Like the skis were
Mm.
playful. It's the same thing with cars in that late 80s, early 90s. Like they were very analog. They were very, it was immediately, it clicked. The barrier to entry was low. They weren't overpowered. They weren't overpriced, and it drew people into the sport of tuning,
Yeah.
just like it drew people into the sport of jet skis. And then we look around and we go, why is car culture dead? Why is stand up jet skis dead? Because we overdid it. We made it so powerful and so expensive. And the same thing's happening to mountain bikes now. Like, dude, they have successfully run the price of bikes up to 10 grand.
Yep.
Fuck.
It's
They're,
ridiculous for a bicycle.
they are putting trophy truck level suspension on a bike that goes 20 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Fucking unnecessary, but people will buy it, dude. Like people, if
It's
they
all about the
think it
flex,
validates.
man. It's about the flex.
It's all about rolling up to the bike park in your Raptor with your freaking $10,000 bike on the back. It's horseshit. You don't
Mm-hmm.
need a $10,000 bike to have a good time. As a matter of fact, a cheap bike will make you a stronger rider. Same
Yeah.
thing with jet skis. A cheap old 90s jet ski will make you a better rider than the new one because it does more for you. Same
Mm-hmm.
thing with cars. The old cars make you, they do make you a better driver, but aside from making you a better driver, they just put you in the moment. The new cars are, it's all computer run. They're patting you on the back and telling you what a great driver you are in your new GT3 RS. Meanwhile, it's done 10,000 calculations to keep you out of the ditch or whatever. Like
Yeah.
it's fucking stupid. Why do you have it? Why? Like, what's the point of a sports car?
Go ride a roller coaster. It's doing the same thing. It'll give you the same thrill, except for you get to go up and down. Go ride a roller coaster instead. You don't need to buy a Porsche.
Yeah, I don't get it. And the fact that all these cars, they're losing their manual transmissions, they're losing their manual everything. It's not a physical experience anymore.
Yeah.
And they're making too much power and it's running the price up. And so it's running the buyers off. I mean, look, dude, we are prime, Supra buying age or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like we are that target market. You gonna buy a Supra? Or you gonna go buy a full size truck that can carry your kids? They're competing with each other.
Yeah.
And so that's why this whole scene is not properly progressing forward. It's the guys who truly love it are sticking with the old stuff, and the guys that either don't have enough perspective to know what's cool, or the guys that are just trying to showboat, the roofers that had a good month, so they're going and buying a Hellcat. Like it's they're losing the enthusiasts. The automotive industry is losing enthusiasts, and that's a scary fucking thing that they
Yeah.
should be paying attention to, because never before in automotive, since they made the first car, there's been a car enthusiast, and we've always been excited to go and try and get the new thing. And now the car enthusiast nation is pulling back. They're
Yeah.
buying, they're not interested in this stuff. And if the car enthusiasts aren't interested, the car industry is on its way to becoming an appliance.
Yeah, and that's a really scary thing because I see it with my own eyes. These people that we grew up racing with and modifying cars with, those guys are not staying in cars anymore. They're taking that money that they would have kept within the industry to buy the car and then modify the hell out of it and go do track days. Instead, what are they doing? They're buying side by sides. They're buying other trucks. They're going out and buying boats and jet
Jet
skis
skis.
and everything else that they can go to do to scratch that itch, to have that fun, just not in the automotive industry.
Well,
Because
dude, and this is a sad thought. Like, I mean, we have a car magazine. We should not be talking like this, but we're
it's true.
talking truthfully. I can go out and spend an absolute fraction on a jet ski. I can take it out for free. There is no speed limit. There is no regulation. I can ride on the edge and I have the same thrills. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thrill for a fraction of the price without the regulation and the law enforcement. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so I'm seeing people go that direction. It scares me. I mean, if you guys have been paying attention to S3 at all, we've been like heavily bitching about the automotive industry over the past few years with the EV agenda and all of that kind of stuff. I've noticed I'm not even mad anymore. And
Yeah.
that's scary because the enthusiasts aren't even getting rattled. We're just like, yeah, of course they made another four-door crossover EV. I quit caring 2 years ago. Like I quit being mad. That's bad. I mean, think about a marriage. That's when a relationship ends. When it stops hurting, you're
Yeah.
gone. You're done. You've moved on. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that that's where a lot of the core automotive enthusiasts are. Again,
Mm-hmm.
the people that don't have the perspective of driving an old Civic or an old 911 or whatever, like they don't get it. But the people that have been around cars that speak the language of sports car, they're checking out.
Yeah, I agree. and I'm of the same mentality. And I think it's mostly because I've kind of accepted that my favorite style of cars, the best cars in my opinion, have already been made. So they're all available for me right now. It's a perfect time. They're all available for me if I want them and if I can afford them.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about the new stuff being made right now because I don't freaking want any of it. Not all of it. I won't say that. There's a couple that I do want, like the new Nissan Z looks pretty cool. I wouldn't mind a Supra. I'm not going to pay through the freaking nose for it though. I mean, there are some cars I would like to have, but in my opinion, for the most part, all the best cars have already been made.
Yeah. Yeah, there are some cars with some energy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just speaking off the top of my head, like the Maverick's got an energy. It's got that early 90s kind of energy vibe. The Type R is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
The Type S is right there with it. Pick one or the other, whichever one you get the best deal on. I lean towards the Type R personally. Like, the Supra is the BMW just shines through too much. Like, there's just not enough vibe, you know. But I appreciate that they made it. There's the Miata is still an amazing car to drive if you can, if you're comfortable in the fact that driving a slow car fast is amazing. Like that car is the perfect errand runner. You will have more
Mm-hmm.
fun than the guy in the Ferrari. Like it's just
Yeah.
it's that good. Um, but the problem is you spec out a Miata now and it's damn near
Forty
$40,000.
grand.
Like what the fuck? But I don't know. The way that they do it now, they just offer too much. Because you go,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I could get this little sport. Well, the sport doesn't have the limited slip. And then, so if I go up to the club, well, then I want the Brembos and the Recaros. And then, boom,
Yeah.
$39,000. It's
Yep.
just. So, yeah, control what you really want, man. Like, I don't think we need to have. I think that there's some absolute scores out there, some unicorns, whatever you want to call it, and we're just not realizing because all we talk about is the 392s, the TRD Pros, the Type Rs, the Raptor. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
um, I think there are some good base model stuff out there. Anyway, the hell else we got to talk about? Nothing,
That's it, man.
is
I'm
it?
I'm good. Kill it. Turn it off right now.
All right, bye.
No, hold on. Just kidding. Just kidding. Guys, if you've listened this far, thank you so much. Check out our website, our app. If you haven't gotten it yet, just go to the App Store, S3 Magazine. We love you. We're out.